Oh, Lee Pace.
Lee Pace.
He's 6'3".
He's 6 foot. Fuck yeah. Who made this?
Oh, this would be Anthony.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Longer?
That's it. Good morning, BBs. It's too early.
Sure is.
Welcome to the first, best, and only morning show in existence. I'm Anthony Carboni.
And I'm Saige Ryan, and we are joined by our very first ever in-studio guest. I hesitate to say studio here, but Hector Navarro.
I'm here. Hi. Look at this.
Hi.
Touch your shoulders.
Real and tangible in person. Can you believe it?
Look, we had to have you on because it's movie and TV day.
You're the movie and TV guy.
Oh, you didn't bring me on for the video game one?
We bring Hector on for video games, and he's like, "What's the latest Spyro?"
Yeah,
that's the one.
The latest Spyro was offensive.
It was.
Got a Nintendo DS. Pretty excited.
Hey. Let's talk about that Nintendo DS sometime, though. I love a Nintendo
Thank you
DS.
so much for having me. Movies and TV. I saw a bunch of them this year. A bunch.
A bunch.
And there's some really good ones.
That's great, because you got to pick up the slack. I saw like 3 movies this year.
It makes sense. You played like 1,000 video games.
Yeah, I guess that was it. And I just got to the point, too, where like, I'm so out of the habit of going to the theater.
Yeah.
And usually for me, like a television show is like it's the end of the night. I have time to do this.
Sure,
I don't have 2 hours. I don't have 3 hours.
Yeah.
A lot of movies are getting
I only have
longer.
3 hours to watch TikToks because they're 15 seconds each.
Exactly.
And so it doesn't feel like I'm watching something that's 3 hours.
You know how like all those websites like Goodreads or Spotify have their like Unwrapped. Like,
Yeah.
here's all
Yeah.
Your hour. Does TikTok have an hours logged? Because that would
Thank
I hope
God
not.
it doesn't.
no, right? That would be depressing.
Yeah,
They know
it's
better.
Yeah, it's called Screen Time, and it warns you about it. It says you've done too much of this.
There is,
Yeah.
if you watch enough TikToks, you'll get an ad from TikTok that's got some like content creator going, "Hey, bud,
Are you okay?
Yeah.
for a while." That's real. No, that's actually
Wow.
real. They'll go, "Hey,
Although they've
we
cut
know it's
down-
fun
they've
to
cut
go-"
down on
They have
those.
cut down on
Really?
those
Yeah.
for a while. They were everywhere.
Does
We were all
Netflix
getting a lot of
still do
them.
that? Does Netflix still do
Are you still watching?
Are you
Yeah.
still watching? And sad people go, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the TikTok
It's me.
equivalent of it.
I'm sad people.
But somehow the TikTok one's more condescending because it's like a
Well, 'cause
content
it's Gen
creator,
Z.
and
It's a
they're just
content
like,
creator,
"Hey,
Hey, self-care is important, buddy.
we know it's fun to keep scrolling, but do you maybe want to go outside and touch some grass, you fuck?"
Hey.
This is so fun. I get.
Do you ever want to have a sex again? You gotta meet people to do that, bud.
I want to say to everybody watching, I am so happy to report these two are exactly like this in real life. Even when there's no camera or it's not live, they were this energy and this delightful, setting up this camera. And I was like, oh, I'm at the live show of one of my shows.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you very much.
Not a shock at all.
I bet you didn't expect sincerity this morning. Guess what?
We never do.
I appreciate you
ever.
both immensely, and I think you're very good at what you do.
Same, buddy.
no.
yeah.
Absolute same.
That's my goal. I'm going to try to make you guys cry today. Let's try.
We
That's
finally got
wild.
to work together this year at Celebration, even though we didn't get to do much together at Celebration because we
was
had
awesome.
to work 2 different areas of the event. But
Oh my God, it was so much fun.
it was so much fun, and every
Star Wars celebration is what
Star-
we're talking
yeah.
about.
I was there. In fact, I was screaming from the audience and hanging backstage on Anthony's side. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I did. I remember.
We crossed paths
That was
briefly.
great.
We only crossed paths briefly
You were
at
also
Celebration.
backstage, Chewbacca,
Yeah.
Yeah.
C-3PO.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all
They
there.
were there. It was
Vader
great.
force choked me.
Vader did force choke her
Now, I'd like to clarify that I didn't ask for that. Anthony did.
because I knew what you wanted,
And he's
and
correct.
I knew
Yeah.
you were afraid to ask.
And it was
Yeah.
a strong bestie move.
When do you think, question for you both, when do you think the first Darth Vader cosplayer was asked to do that for a photo? Like what year? When did that
It was
first
May
happen?
6th, 1977.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, that feels like a very new thing to have, and I've seen it on the internet. I've seen other people do it, to have like a Darth Vader like force choke or
Yeah.
Kylo Ren cosplay or whatever. And I'm like, that's got to be like a newish thing.
No,
Give me the year. When did that first? When did someone
I'm
go,
telling you.
Hey, this is my thing.
I'm telling
I
you,
want this photo.
literally
1970.
1977.
I think so. Here's the thing. No, they didn't post it anywhere. You know what I mean?
There was nowhere to post
but
it.
Right,
They could,
right,
but
right.
also they wouldn't have. You know what I mean?
They wrote a letter in the Ken Burns effect to a friend. It was like, "My dearest Martha,
Yeah.
this afternoon I was
So-
force choked by Darth Vader."
No.
But like they kept that one between friends.
So when was the first of that photo posted, you think? The 80s, the 90s? I'm thinking it was like 2015. That's what I think.
No, you're wrong.
People were finally like,
You're
they were
100%
like, I will
wrong.
be my authentic self and post this on the internet.
You're
Yeah, when did that
100%
happen?
wrong.
You think?
I think it was one of the first things ever posted as an image on the internet.
Somebody
Just-
online tell me when was it? What
Frank said it was
like,
posted on the local telephone pole.
Yeah.
exactly. What was like the first Star Wars based fan?
I think it was
site?
before the web browser. I think it was
Yeah.
news groups.
Wow.
I think it was alt-rec Star Wars, and somebody posted an attachment of them getting choked by Darth Vader, and everybody else went, "You motherfucker, don't post images that ruins my bandwidth, and the college gets mad at me. But also, this is a dope picture."
Now, Ted Swan had a good point. It's a convention. It had to be at a convention.
Oh yeah.
I think so.
Like, it had to be at a
I think
convention.
so,
It
too.
had to be
That's
at,
what I'm
like-
saying. That's what I'm saying.
It had to be a Comic-Con.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It could also, I mean, like, you were joking about 1977, but, you know, when those movies were coming out, up to 1983, Return of the Jedi, there were lines of people around the block, and a lot of them did
At
dress
the
up.
People were seeing it multiple times a day. People were walking around outside in costumes almost immediately.
Maybe the first photo taken wasn't meant to be like a kinky, cool kink thing, but maybe it was really like,
That's the thing.
from the movie.
That's
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah.
You're
Okay.
thinking about the modern
That's what I'm
subtext
asking of the when was the first modern subtext?
earlier than we think.
Full.
Wait a minute.
What?
What if that became the first modern subtext?
Yeah.
Okay, the person was just like, do the thing from the movie.
and then they did it.
went,
I like, maybe this is my thing.
I felt as though
And they
saw it
started
and
the
went-
trend.
thousands of voices cried out in sexual awakening is what happened.
What's this episode about? What are we talking about?
We're talking about Star Wars kinks. Star Wars kinks.
Jar Jar kinks. You know what I mean?
We are talking about the movies in TV, our favorite movies in TV of 2022.
Right.
Modi and Toady. Because we did Goaty on Monday. Do people call it Modi and Toady?
They sure didn't.
Movie of the year? We should do it.
Television of the
Should
year.
we?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We should go.
We need another bit around this?
It's Modi and Toady, I
we need
think.
another bit around this?
It's not a bit. Why is
Greatest of all time?
Game of the Year is Goaty?
Goaty.
But
Game of the year.
yeah, but
Modi.
it could be Modi and Toady. And they could be little guys.
All right. Little guy.
They could be little guys,
Why are you
little
looking at her? Did
gnomes.
she do fan art? Why are you looking at her for that?
Because we love a little
We
guy.
just love a little
Oh, give me a piece
guy.
of paper right now. I'll draw a little Modi and Toady right now. I'm serious. Oh, you got the sketchbook. Can I? This is too nice. I can't draw on this.
I've only
Look
got
at
the most
this.
dramatic of Dungeons and
Look at
Dragons
this.
paper.
This is so nice. I'm not going to draw on this.
Okay, hold on.
This is cool.
Okay, you want one that says evil thoughts instead?
Yeah. This
okay.
I can't do it in this. This
All right.
is too nice. That's like there's curses in there.
Dungeons
Listen.
and Dragons.
While we're talking about
List in it. All right.
little guys, just a reminder that the BB Mini Mishi shirt is only available until the end of this month.
Yeah, January 1st, we kill the BB Mini Mishi.
Yeah, it dies. Their lives are so brief and terrible. They're brief and their lives are full of hardship.
It's like those little robo hamsters that everybody was getting for a while.
Yeah, where their lives are brief and terrible.
God damn it, it's gonna play it every time we go back to the main screen.
Wait, is it? That's
we
perfect.
Can turn it off.
No, we
so
shouldn't,
It
though.
doesn't. But we didn't. They do hear us during it. So they did hear also the first thing
No,
they
I
heard
know.
this morning was Hector go, who did this?
Who did this? Why would you do this?
What did I ask? What did I
when the
Oh, the intro?
graphic
Good. Yeah,
rolls?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Who did this?
Who made this?
Who did this?
Why would this have happened?
I'm not done. I'm not done. It's
Okay,
totally-
we're doing a Modi and a Toady, but while we're doing that, we do want to talk about our favorite movies and TV shows of 2022. We would normally start with the guest because that's the polite thing to do, but he's drawing a Modi and a Toady right
And
now.
I have one that's relevant to what we've been talking about this whole time.
Okay, lay it on me because I don't have your list.
It's Star Wars.
Oh, from
We got-
1977.
It's a 1977 Star Wars A New Hope. It's Andor.
Hell yeah, it
Gotta
is.
start with Andor. I have no choice, mostly because we were talking about kinky Star Wars stuff in the intro. I would have saved it to the end of my list, but Andor was my favorite thing I watched this year.
Andor
We're
is
not
so
putting
good.
them in order. We're not putting them in order, but like if we were.
Yeah. What's the award? What award are you giving it?
The award for Andor is droid that made me cry the hardest.
Yes.
Oh my God, BMO.
But also, most likely to make me want to like start a fire, burn something down.
Can I tell you that I love that now when you say BMO, I think about my two cutie favorite robots from two cutie different things.
Yeah, Adventure Time.
I think about Adventure Time and Andor now.
Wow.
B2 Emo is
But
the star of the show,
Yep.
obviously. B2 is incredible, a fantastic droid. I think they've perfected it. We talked about it a lot on the Kind of Funny screencast of the back and forth. Tim wasn't sold on B2 Emo. I think it's the greatest droid. I'm sorry.
By the end, though, Tim came around on B2
It's
quite a
hard
bit.
not to.
How could you not?
'Cause,
B2, no, we don't want to. I don't know. There might be some mild spoilers. We're going to try to stay away from it, but know that there might be some mild spoilers
Yeah.
today, just because of the nature of the beast. But B2's got such a moment, such a number of moments.
I'm not playing it again. I'm not playing that stupid graphic again, Anthony. I refuse. Look, when B2 gets kicked over, we're not going to say the context of it, whatever. Droid gets kicked. If you don't actively want to get up and fight, like you personally, regardless of any understanding of watching a television series, if that doesn't make you violent, I simply cannot be your friend.
Goodness, what a lovely show. What a surprise.
Yeah.
I keep talking about this show. I have a YouTube channel with some buddies. I do a podcast, a LA Comic-Con podcast, and I keep mentioning Andor in the context of like, I did not expect this show. I expected Rogue One, the show, which
Same.
I love.
Yes.
Rogue One. I was all in. I'm like, I can't wait for Andor. Cassian Andor is my favorite Star Wars character,
Wow.
which is true. That's based off of just Rogue One.
He met Diego.
I met Diego Luna.
He met Diego.
Because of you, really. I got to thank you for that. That was a lovely moment.
He's good at that.
I got emotional meeting Diego Luna for a second. I'm like, this character means so much to me, means so much to my mom. So
I'll interrupt a millionaire to give a friend their moment. I'll interrupt a millionaire at any time. Everybody's like, please don't interrupt the millionaires. I was like, no. The millionaire will be interrupted to meet my friend.
owes us.
Yeah.
I got shoved into Palpatine at Celebration.
Yeah.
So.
The Palpatine?
The
Somehow.
Palpatine. She.
So I was so ready for like Rogue One, the show. I was like Rogue One, but
Yeah.
with the TV show budget spread out over however many episodes, 12 episodes, Tony Gilroy, I knew all of that.
Yeah.
And then the show came out and I went, oh, this is the most anti-fascist thing Disney has ever been involved with. And it is so well done.
It's so good.
And it's such an amazing slow burn buildup, and then stuff happens, and you feel it more than you feel anything else in a Star Wars. Modi's not ready, okay? Totally. Is ready. You gotta
Wait,
stop
we'll be
now.
patient.
That pressure
I'm sorry, it's so good.
So here's
I'm so sorry, it's distracting.
Here's the thing: is they've been working towards the tone of Andor for a long time. You can see how they've been trying to work towards it, and they've stumbled a few times trying to get there because I think the pacing of getting to something that feels like Star Wars but also has the tone of Andor took a lot of like slowly moving literally the world to being ready for it.
Yeah.
Because if Andor had come out a few years ago, people would have been like, this does not feel like Star Wars to me.
Yeah.
Where The Mandalorian feels like classic Star Wars, and that's the show that's made to feel like classic Star Wars.
Correct.
Andor is like, this needs to feel like Star Wars in a more, I don't want to say relevant or modern because then it sounds like I'm kind of pushing down other Star Wars stuff, but very of the moment. And it has a tone that people are going to respond to more, I think, these days than the classic Star Wars tone.
I mean, and that's the thing too, is like we talked so long about how like we've been getting these like the most specialist boy stories about the Jedi. And this was one where you're like, no, this is war and we understand that.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of attempts to make that. And like, for me, Rogue One didn't hit that right.
Right.
I understood what it was trying to get at, but I was not a Rogue One person. So I went in with no expectations of Andor. I was like, I'm going to clean the slate. I'm not a Rogue One person, but I'm very open to the show. But I was not expecting to fall in love with it. I wasn't expecting to, I guess, I wasn't expecting it to be so powerful from a show like Andor. The speeches in this show were incredible. And the best way that I can speak to how much the show meant to me is there's a moment from Marva's speech, and I won't give any context to what that is, that I'm going to add to a tattoo that I'm getting.
Hell yeah.
Are you serious?
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Marva's speech was amazing. I mean, everybody had there was good soliloquizing in that show.
I've burned my future for a sunrise I'll never see.
Yeah. Oh,
It's so good.
Luthen Rail, man. So many amazing new characters that I love that have become some of my favorite Star Wars characters. But you've got, when they announced that it was going to be Tony Gilroy and then Sana Wallenberg, who Sana Wallenberg was from Chernobyl.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I see where we're going. And I remember asking her at Celebration, I was like, why are you getting this tone? How do you fit this tone into Star Wars? And she's like, that tone has always been there. It's a war. She's like, it's a war.
Boom.
And we need to start talking about it like it's a war.
It's that famous tweet from the Star Wars Twitter where somebody was like, Star Wars needs to stop getting political. And they were like, it's called Star Wars. It's always been political.
It's literally about a rebel uprising against an empire that is colonizing and subjugating an entire galaxy.
Right.
Whether or not, if you don't think that's political, bless your heart and bless your life that has been so cushy. You know what I mean? Wake up.
Wake up, sheeple.
Wake up, sheeple.
And it's the thing you talked about them stumbling on the way. Like there are moments in the Obi-Wan series, which obviously a lot of people were not a big fan of. I enjoyed the Obi-Wan series. It wasn't a perfect show. It was an enjoyable show though. But there were moments in that where we saw that spark of the rebellion in the tunnels and things like that. In the Jedi's names carved into it in the path. That I was like, oh, hey, as Jews, that also means a lot to us. And it's like, it hits us in a very specific place that it's like, yes, this is always what it's been about. And it feels like taking a mask off to finally acknowledge it.
I think everybody was scared, including Lucasfilm a little bit, of making a show that was no Jedis, no space wizards. Like, cause it's tough, cause so much of Star Wars is space wizards. And
lightsabers.
It's
hard to separate that.
And what's funny,
iconography from it,
can you imagine Cassian Andor seeing a lightsaber? Can you imagine what Cassian Andor, what would he even think?
One, does he? I don't think he does, no.
What would he even think if he saw Vader?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He'd be pissed. He'd
be pissed and he'd get him. He'd get him.
He'd kill him.
Dude would leave.
But there are levels of this stuff where
yeah, I love that though. That's great.
People, when they talk about in the new trilogy about how people don't believe in Jedi and don't believe, people are like, how can you not believe in Jedi? Jedi fucking saved the galaxy. Like people didn't see that.
Right.
People weren't there. They didn't see that.
Yeah, there were two people in that room most of the time.
They have those little hologram players.
Right.
And it's like, oh, hey man, it turns out the war's over. And it's just like, oh, cool.
Okay.
I remember that criticism of Star Wars when the prequels came out and they revealed that the Jedi were at their height 19 years before A New Hope, right? And that's when people started to make that criticism of oh, okay, I don't buy it. If the Jedi were a thing in the Old Republic or High Republic era, and it was, that would make more sense. But then you watch Andor and you go, oh, okay.
Oh, the galaxy's actually a big place.
And the Empire is extremely powerful and ruthless. I get it. I got it.
Yeah, and you think about the level of control over media that countries here.
And even in Obi-Wan, they had with the Kumail Nanjiani character, but how they're taking out Jedi. They're getting them.
Yeah.
So, that's great.
Man, Andor's so good.
Yeah.
Andor's so good. And I think one thing that we're going to see, because I'm sure we have at least one or two more Disney Plus things coming up, is there have been some stumbles and some struggles from everyone who's made Disney Plus shows about how to make Disney Plus work. What's the pacing? What's the number of episodes? What's the tone? How much can we change these established tones and characters and franchises?
I'm talking about Tim Allen's The Santa Clauses.
I'm talking about the Santa Clauses.
Yeah. So different.
Here's the thing. The Santa Clauses gets real dark.
It does.
It gets real dark, and it's got a lot to say.
Tim Allen was not happy about that.
No.
Is Tim Allen happy about anything?
No.
He's happy about America and guns and cocaine.
Santa
Can't
Claus
relate.
is a subversive, anti-fascist. No, it's not. I haven't seen a minute of that show.
No, it's not.
Yet. I will, but I haven't yet.
Listen,
I cut off
David
the- you
David
were-
Krumholtz wouldn't sign up for anything that didn't have the good subtext in it. When would Krumholtz like just do a movie
Exactly.
for the paycheck?
But you were talking, Anthony, before I ruined it with a terrible joke. It's about the
no,
Disney
that-
Plus show Makers.
Oh,
The show, though.
What are we
yeah.
going to get? What's happening?
Yeah, like
What's
what's the
what we do.
Anthony Carboni's.
But that's the thing is I feel like, you know, for a lot of people, Obi-Wan didn't hit. Boba
Sure.
Fett didn't hit.
Sure. Mando didn't hit for some.
Mando didn't hit for some.
Get it?
But you can watch in a lot of these Disney Plus shows, even with a lot of the Marvel stuff too. We've talked about how like, boy, it feels like they only do like 6 episodes of these things, and they're about 3 in when they figure out what the show's about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's been a problem I think with like all Disney Plus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about like Andor just feels very well planned, very methodically paced.
Yes.
And they do have the bonus advantage of having 2 seasons
Right.
of 8 episodes.
No, 12.
12. That's right. It was 12. 2 seasons of 12
And
episodes.
then they're done.
But they know when they're done.
Right.
Uh-huh.
They know how many, and they have more episodes to establish things, to set those ground. Because, man, one of the things, listen, one of my disappointments kind of 2022 was Moon Knight. Because I'm a big Moon Knight guy. I'm one of 7 people that really loves Moon Knight. And Moon Knight didn't know what it was until like episode 4 or 5. And then we were done. Moon Knight was over.
Right.
And so I think like,
I think you're right, Anthony, because, well, first of all, just on the Moon Knight conversation, I'm pretty sure we're going to get another season.
oh, we definitely are.
Right? I'm pretty sure, because, like, Oscar Isaac was just in Egypt with the showrunner, and somebody was like, "What are you doing here? Are you doing more Moon Knight?" And they're like, "Why else would we be here?" Like, coyly posting that on social media or whatever.
Somebody leaked
Yeah.
that season 2 was in development, and it bummed them all out,
Yeah.
including Oscar Isaac,
I'm sure,
because
I'm sure.
he was supposed to be nominated for Best Limited Series, Best Performance in a Limited Series.
Oh, yeah. But now it's a show.
But now it's a show.
Oh,
Seasons.
shit.
And so he didn't get to win for Moon Knight.
Man, Moon Knight has been riddled with leaks since the beginning.
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac being Moon Knight was originally leaked.
That's right. It was leaked by a
DP
cost.
or
Yeah, DP.
something.
That's right.
I think, though, that to your point, I feel, though, like, season 2 is probably going to be more, it's going to be tighter, and they're going to know what it is. And then another example would be there was a Marvel show that was going to be a show, and then they pivoted, and now it's going to be a movie. Armor Wars, the Don
Right.
Cheadle thing, was going to be like a 6-episode whatever thing, and exactly what you're describing, where maybe they're taking a step back, and probably all of Disney is also figuring out what Disney Plus is and how to make a show for that.
Yeah.
It could also be a budgetary thing. I've seen people have those conversations of like, look, we keep pumping money into these Marvel shows. The Marvel fans signed up for Disney Plus day one. We're not.
Yeah.
There's nobody holding out that's like,
Well-
I love Marvel, but I'm not going to subscribe until season 2 of Loki.
And the way they're producing these shows, which also is probably going to change. If you do 6 episodes of a Marvel show, it costs more than the movies.
Right. So now they're going to do a 2-hour Don Cheadle centric movie. You know, and
Can I tell you? Can I tell you what else I think that's about?
Yeah.
I think that's about unrecognizable characters in Phase 4 and 5, and bringing in more classic recognizable characters.
Don Cheadle, his War Machine character, Rhodey, he's been there since basically the beginning. His character's been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
Don Cheadle was there since 2010.
Yeah.
Man 2. Yeah, you're probably right. So anyway,
It's a
I'm sure that-
multiverse. Bring back Terrence Howard. He can't be that weird to work with.
He just said he retired, so oops, can't do that.
No more Terrence Howard.
I'm
Is he
sure-
a bad person? Did I just say bring back a bad
no,
person?
maybe.
I'm
I
always
don't know.
worried about that when I make a
know.
joke like that.
I hope not, because I hope there's no bad people.
A couple years ago, I made a
but-
joke about Dean Cain, and then somebody was like, "Oh, buddy, you got to
But,
hear about
yeah.
Dean Cain," and I was like,
you were
"No."
the Superman movie, and then someone went this.
They were doing
Yeah.
they were doing Crisis
Right,
on the
right,
CW,
right, I remember that.
and I was like,
Brandon Routh.
I was
Tom
like,
Welling.
"Where's Dean Cain?" And they were like,
Dean?
"In jail, probably,
You were like-
if we have our way."
Where's my Superman?
Yeah, that's the problem. Is like I really loved him as Superman, and then they were like,
Well,
"Here's what he turned into."
Here's my recommendation.
Yeah.
Cassandra.
Go on.
As a concept,
Yeah.
don't vouch for men.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's
Don't
fair.
vouch for men until or never.
That was
Just
from
play it
Rings
safe.
of Power. They said vouch for no man.
Just play it safe.
Rings of Power not on anybody's
play
list.
Play it safe.
Not on anybody's list.
I stand by no man in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I'm not going to be like, oh, he seems great. No, I don't know that.
Not until they're dead, and then wait a little bit.
Yeah.
He goes, Fred Rogers was a gem, and then you go, okay,
cool.
All right, yeah, safe.
I think we can talk about.
Well, just this
Only
morning
dead men.
before we went live, we were like, "Why is Tom Hanks trending? He's still good, right? He's still good, right?"
I don't know.
Turns out there's
We
a
don't know.
there's a new heartwarming Tom Hanks movie
But again,
coming out.
we still don't know.
We still
So
don't
I'm sure
know.
Lucasfilm is going to, and probably learned a bunch of lessons from Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and everything, and that's why Andor is the way it is.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't just plot and pacing lessons either, or character lessons. It was also production lessons. Like
man, so good.
They leaned less, not as much less as people think, but they leaned less on the volume and the full LED walls and things like that. And they really focused on how do we make Andor look real? How do we put depth of field and filmic shots into this, as opposed to like shooting that real, like everything's in focus because we got to do 90 VFX shots before this episode comes out, you know?
Yeah.
So it was a good year for Star Wars.
It was a damn good year for Star Wars. My alternative award for this show is a show to make me most likely to want to rewatch the early aughts series, Prison Break.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I didn't
that
think
makes
we were going
sense.
with that, but I like it.
Prison
makes
Break was
sense.
my favorite show as a teen.
Dominic Purcell,
and Wentworth Miller, also known as Captain Cold and Heatwave.
I was about to run back over.
Themselves.
I was about to run back over and say, Captain Cold.
I watched and powered through so much Legends of Tomorrow just for those two.
They're pretty great.
Just
Let
for those two.
me tell you something. It was an interesting take on Captain Cold.
I know what this is.
I love it.
I know what this is. I don't know what this is, but I know Toady is a toad.
Right.
So that's where I started.
And Modi's a little man.
And I'm Modi.
Rocco's Modern Life.
At first, I was like, I'll draw Modi in a moat of a castle.
Let's,
But then I abandoned that, and I was like, I'll give him a tie instead.
Hold him up. Let's let the audience see Toady and Modi here.
Okay.
You can put them way up close
Look
there.
at that.
There you go. Toady and Modi.
What a great camera. Modi is holding a TV. Modi is holding a popcorn, and he spilled some. But he's happy. They're both so
He's
happy
happy.
to be there.
He spilled it because you know why? Because they gave him a little extra. They really topped off that bucket. He's having a good time at the cinema.
So Toady is a toad. Modi, I don't know what animal or being he is, but he has a little tuft of hair.
Modi's he's a little monkey man.
Are they related? Are they brothers?
Maybe.
Are they cousins? Are they like a Siskel and Ebert situation?
It's a found family situation, I
On
think.
Toady, tooth or tongue? Is that tooth?
That's tongue.
That's tongue.
Come on.
That's the better option. I'm glad it was
love
tongue.
If it was tooth, I would have made it sharp or more,
Yeah.
That's like a real
Oh, no,
goofy
that's
tooth.
good.
Anyway, you guys can own that merch. I won't make a dime. Go ahead and
Neither
do that.
will we.
There you go.
We're just figuring out how money works.
Somebody in the chat said, new merch. And I'm like, Davey, figure it out. Let's
Figure
Figure it out, Davey. You heard him.
I wish that we
Get
could
on
just
our
say
merch
that.
store.
No, the gag here is that we were running the merch store for about a month before we figured out we were losing money on everything.
Yeah.
So
That is because we signed up for a service that was calculating the shipping at absurd costs, and we were trying to balance it out, and we failed.
yeah. Anyway, Andor was number one, and now let's get Hector. What's your first? Give me your
My
first.
award for best supporting dinosaur goes to Fang in the show Primal.
This is the Genndy Tartakovsky show.
Yes.
Which I gotta tell you, I did not think was going to get multiple seasons. This was his like, I've given you so many popular things, Cartoon Network. You have to let me do my dream project
For Adult Swim.
And
One of the most violent, like stomach churning, like insane pieces of animation I've ever seen in my life. It is brutal and beautiful and heartbreaking, and the animation is on point, and it's mostly non-verbal storytelling.
Yeah.
Mostly. And it's funny, and it is shocking, and it's so fun to watch Gendy Tartakovsky, who created Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack. Also, I don't think gets enough credit for kind of re-energizing Star Wars animation because did the Clone Wars micro series.
His Clone Wars shorts were amazing.
And the
Yeah.
Gendy style, that kind of Samurai Jack style, I think was carried over into the CG Clone Wars.
A bit, yeah.
were
They definitely
kind of
took a lot
trying
off
to
of it.
echo that sort of style, and then they developed their own style, and it's all very different. But like the reason Count Dooku looks the way he does, I'm like, I feel like that's a Gendy. You know, he's to blame or to praise. But this show, look at that.
Yeah,
Look at that. Did you see that monkey get punched through with the fist or whatever?
Yeah.
It's a fantastical kind of a fantasy
With that
path.
man's punching hand.
Yeah.
with his punching hand.
So there's like Neanderthal and sort of prehistoric man, but there's also like Vikings and there's also like dinosaurs, as you saw.
It's really wild.
You can just see Gendy's influences of like he loves like Conan the Barbarian and like you know all those kinds of old pulpy type stuff. But the show is great, and season 2 has a season finale that like shocked my girlfriend and I as we were watching. We're like, "Is this? Oh my God! Is this the last episode? Is this the last episode of the show?" And things go down, and we looked it up, and it's like season 3 has not officially been greenlit.
Ooh.
Gendy was like, season 3 is going to be a totally different story with different characters. That story is done. If he does season 3, and I think he said it's going to be like an anthology type of a thing where it'll be like a different.
It's the smartest way to do it because we do know that his stuff has a tendency to get canceled out from under him.
So he's like, I'll end this.
Yeah, I'm going to do this for you. Let's just make sure there's a satisfying ending.
And that dinosaur, the two characters are named Spear and Fang. Spear is the caveman. Fang is the dinosaur.
Yeah.
Whom he bonds with, and they both, I'll tell you the premise, they both lose their families in the beginning of the show pretty brutally, and then that's what they bond over, is that they both lost children and loved ones, and Spear and Fang, they're like such a good duo. And man, the end of the show, which aired 2022, I think I was watching it on HBO Max, but I'm like, that's a Adult Swim show, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Incredible, phenomenal. Go watch it on HBO Max before they take it down.
He's such a master of like, I think about the episodes of Samurai Jack in particular, but every show that he worked on. I mean, even you think about like some of the set pieces from the Powerpuff Girls movie when he had like money and time to do like the real, like a real battle, like that tag scene, I think is still one of the funniest and best things ever animated.
It's so good.
But also you think about the Samurai Jack episode where he has to fight in silence between light and dark, where he's like blindfolded.
Classic.
And it's like
Classic.
Gendy Tartakovsky is such a brilliant storyteller with animation, like one of the greats of our time. And when he got Primal, I was just like, I can't believe they're letting him do it. I can't believe they're letting him do this. This is wild. Now it did between season 1 and 2. It took a while, right?
I think so. I can't remember when season 1 aired, but season 2 was 2022. Season 1 may have been 2020.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe 2021.
I want to say he's one of those people where it's like, it's going to take a while and it's done when it's done.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. This show, so good. I'm so glad to see some people were like, and added it to my watch list.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Fang has a good little Fang. That's true.
That's true.
That's a little sharp.
Better, I mean, look, Toadie's not supposed to have a little fang, but Fang's got a little fang.
Fang's got a little fang. Toadie's got a little tongue.
So we got a little time.
Toadie got a little tongue is what we know. And that's what we say.
That's my first. It's a TV show.
Do you remember that Jane's Addiction song? Toadie's got a tongue. Toadie's got, that was Aerosmith actually.
Yeah.
That was Aerosmith.
It's addiction. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Jane's Addiction
Different one.
cover of the
Listen,
Aerosmith song.
Right.
You remember the Jane's Addiction cover of the Aerosmith song where they changed the words to be about Toadie's little tongue?
Of course I did.
We all remember that.
Absolutely. It's very interesting because this one was not on my radar at all.
What?
This completely like slipped past me. I
Well, it's
wasn't
an
aware it
old
came
person
out.
show. It is an old person show.
No, but also like I was a huge Samurai Jack fan.
Yeah.
I love
best.
Samurai Jack.
It's the best.
And
And
so
also had a great season when they came back and did that final.
Yeah.
season.
Right?
It was so good.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things where like, because this is caveman punching through dinosaur belly, the show. People, I think, looked at it a lot, and if they didn't know it was Gendy or they just saw one commercial for it, they were like, that's not really my thing.
there's no like real understandable hook in that. I mean, there are people that are like dinosaur freaks that were like up there day one, but you got to know it's Gendy, what the production history of it is, and all
Dinosaur Freaks was also a great '90s Cartoon Network show where they fought crime. Freaks.
I feel like you're
Dinosaur Freaks.
Wait a minute. That's the real show. And they would like press their chest and then morph into kind of like they put like exosuits on it.
Yeah.
Superheroes. Am I thinking of
Dinosaur Freaks?
What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Road Rovers.
You could be thinking of Street Sharks.
I was thinking of Street Sharks.
You could be thinking of SWAT Cats.
Dinosaur
You could be thinking of.
There was a spin-off on Street Sharks. I think it was called Dino something. There was a Street Shark spin-off. Dino Squad?
BBs, you know what to do. Look it up.
Dino.
Look it up, BBs. Look it up.
What was it? Dino.
It's Dino something.
Somebody.
You think on it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll find it.
I want to do my first award.
Okay.
And my first award is for Best Fan Fiction Not on AO3. And that award goes to RRR.
Yeah.
Rise, roar, revolt, baby.
Nice.
This movie owns so fucking hard.
It does.
This is an Indian film about two revolutionary figures in Indian history during the British occupation.
Yeah.
Who they're real figures. Let me turn this down. Sorry.
It's difficult to describe this.
Yeah, that came in hot.
That came in real hot.
I'm so sorry.
But it's like, what if these two revolutionary figures in Indian history
We're superheroes.
were friends because they never knew each other.
Oh, really?
They never met.
That's so great.
We're friends, and not just friends, but friends who won dance fights and fought tigers and threw motorcycles at people and cared about each other very much and wanted only the best for each other. And then they sang songs. And it's so fucking good. I just about lost my ding dang mind all the way through this movie because it's not Bollywood, it's Tollywood.
What's Tollywood?
Tegala or Telegog. I'm sorry, somebody correct my pronunciation. Cool. But there are two major areas that speak two different languages, and worldwide, Telugu, thank you. Worldwide, we tend to mostly think of Bollywood, but this is a different region. They speak a different language. And usually a movie from this region does not do as well, does not get the distribution.
A Bollywood. Yeah.
But this is, I think, the third highest grossing Indian film of all time. I think it is the second highest grossing Telugu movie of all time. And it's the highest grossing Indian movie outside of India of all time. Yeah. It is a 3-hour historical epic. They are superheroes. It's like, look, that's the bad guy. That's the British. That's the British colonel.
I did see it. Absolutely. Not only did I see it, me and my buddies watched it, and we did a YouTube reaction to it, which isn't on YouTube yet. We have it on our Patreon over on patreon.com/Heroes Reforged, and we continuously, as Anthony's describing, we're like watching this thing, and it was unbelievable.
He kicked a motorcycle.
We could not believe what we were watching.
Beam kicked a motorcycle. And the thing that you can't hear from this trailer is because it is coming from Indian film where there is a history of musical film. Yeah. There are musical numbers, there are dance numbers, but also it's not like the characters are constantly breaking out in song. They do a couple of times, but there is music in the background that is narrating the entire movie. Yeah. So when they're in this fight scene where he's kicking a motorcycle, it's like they're saying things like, and now the heart of India is rising up. Beam will now show them his strength. These two friends will now fight together. It's like,
is it unfair to say it's almost like an anime intro?
No,
kind of
it's an anime. Yeah, RRR is anime.
Yes, it is.
And in a year of really good anime, like, listen, Chainsaw Man's good, but you need to watch RRR. Yeah. Like, that's the anime. Like, it's all like, there's so much shit. It constantly is just... Like, the closest thing we have is, like, imagine in America the musical 1776, but like in the middle of it, Ben Franklin like fought somebody with 2 katanas. Like, that's like
there's no real comparison. I would describe the genre for this film as all of them.
Yes.
It's every genre. And American films don't do that.
No.
They stay in their lane. So this really is like Titanic mixed with Passion of the Christ, mixed with, like Singing in the Rain.
Yes.
Mixed with a Michael Bay action movie, mixed with, I don't know. It's just,
movies like this
yeah.
really do highlight how much, particularly like big budget tentpole Hollywood movies, while still good, there's a certain formula that that in America we want this formula. And we don't really mix genre that much.
Right.
We like a little comedy with our action.
Yeah.
But other than that, we don't like to mix things too much.
No, it's very
Usually.
interesting. I mean, it speaks to how like limited and how deprived we are by only watching movies that come from our country. And obviously we could be embracing it more also in the people that live here and are creating film. There's such a narrow idea of what can go to theaters here.
Yeah.
But like, it's been the last few years where it's just like, God damn, we got to watch more non-English language films. Oh my God.
Not since Extreme Dinosaurs.
There it is.
So that really pushes the boundary of what
it didn't work.
what genres you can mix.
Yeah.
So
they can be dinosaurs. They can be dinosaurs, but they can also be extreme.
Absolutely. They should be extreme.
I'm just going to say that I don't want to give too much about RRR away, but there's a point, their friendship in this movie, that's the other thing, is like their absolute friendship.
Best friendship.
In this is like, there's a part in this movie where one of them can't walk. And so the other one puts him on his shoulders and gives him uppies.
Yeah.
But then they do a full action sequence where they're escaping from a place, and the bottom one is the legs, and the top one is the arms, and they fight their way through the British Army.
If you're asking yourself, did Anthony just describe the Sharon Stone movie The Mighty? Yeah, he did. But
also
put that genre in everything else we just said.
All right, this is what I was trying to show earlier. We found it. Extreme Dinosaurs. Thank you to
Chad.
Obi in the live studio audience who found that.
They should bring back Street Sharks. I have a pitch for bringing back Street Sharks.
Yeah?
I did some art a few years ago of like, here's my take on what the Street Sharks should look like if it came back. I should post that.
You should talk to Vin. You should talk to Vin Diesel about that.
He should be the producer on it. Live action Street Sharks. He should be the main
Have you ever seen the Vin Diesel Street Sharks commercial?
Pull it up, Anthony. I've seen it multiple times.
Folks, if you have not seen this,
Maybe his best performance.
this is before Vin Diesel was Vin Diesel. Before Vin Diesel was Vin Diesel, in 1994, he got hired to be a tough guy that just shows off Street Sharks and plays with Street Sharks. And that's Vin Diesel. There he is.
That's a potent mix. Give me the goosebumps.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The audio is the best part, though. You got to watch this later.
Well,
I will watch it later.
Like, Hammerhead.
Listen, Vin Diesel, Street Sharks.
But before, I took Vin Diesel so seriously.
He has a shark fin. A Ninja Turtle with troll hair? Yeah, they couldn't show a Street Shark toy beating up a Ninja Turtle toy strictly, because that would be inappropriate. So then they put a troll hair on it, and they're like, all these other toys are inferior. You know which ones we mean. And then Vin Diesel.
And they were talking about Samurai Pizza Cats, but they were wrong, because that was the best out of all of them. Saige, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Miss Marvel.
What's the award, Saige?
My award for Miss Marvel, I've forgotten, so I'm going to make up a new one.
Okay.
My award for Miss Marvel is the biggest fuck you to Twitter.
It's up there.
It's up there. It's the biggest fuck yous to Twitter.
There was lots of fuck yous to Twitter this year, but
there were
this is a
so
good
many,
one.
but Miss Marvel hit it so hard. I loved this series. I was so excited by it. I think it nailed the tone. I think it's very rare that Hollywood nails something about teenagers. I think that these people were like authentically children.
Yes.
And that made everything about this show great.
It also knows what fan culture is now and how they have affected fan culture.
Yeah.
And they work that into the story.
Marvel Studios is affected.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
But that also, that was always part of the Miss Marvel character.
Yeah.
But they handled it so well in the show without, I think, getting too meta about it, which was a danger that they could have run into. But also, like, it was just fun to see this like family and friends.
Yeah. I think the
working
ensemble,
together to make this hero.
The ensemble of this cast is incredible. Like, every performance in this show is awesome. Like, down to the smallest characters that come by in it. I think they did a really exceptional job of fleshing out the neighborhood that they live in and the community. Which, like, the community was everything to this show. And that's something that very easily could have been missed, but there was so much heart in this community that, like, you really, really are impacted by the way that it affects the entire neighborhood, by the way that it affects every individual. And obviously, like, this show is massive in that. We have some friends that worked on Miss Marvel. And I was lucky enough, we were doing like weekly watch nights, and I got to sit down with some of the writers and just listen to them watching it for the first time.
That's cool.
And hearing them speak about things like, hey, this is huge for us as like a Daisy writer's room.
Yeah.
And hearing them talk about like the conversations that it initiated about partition, having them have those conversations and being able to show this to their parents and like bring up these generational conversations that have been like barred off.
Yes.
The amount of people on Twitter that learned about partition from Miss Marvel, is terrifying, but oh my God, then like the show very much needed to exist. And it's delightful all the way through.
And it's, in addition to being an important show, it is a very well-made show.
Yeah.
It does not follow the standard Marvel style guide.
Not at all.
The way that they work in, what do you call it? I mean, when it's music, it's diegetic, but the way they work in street signs and lighting and things in the background and the way, like, when they're texting, their texts show up in like the environment around them.
Graphic design.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't know what you call it either, but yeah, that was one of the highlights of the show.
It was so cool looking. And I don't know. It's like when you think about Marvel, you think about a particular kind of special effect or graphic, but like they took that money, that budget, and they put it into something new and different, which is why I think for me it's one of the best Marvel Disney Plus shows, if not the best Marvel Disney Plus show. My heart is still with WandaVision because that spoke to me so much.
Yeah.
But
You're a witch.
because I'm a witch
Loves television.
and a robot.
The thing for me,
I'm kind of an extreme dinosaur that way.
Like, WandaVision has also been my favorite of the Marvel shows.
Also very stylized.
Yep.
Incredibly stylized. But the thing that I've realized is that, like, Miss Marvel carries a lot more rewatch value for me than WandaVision does.
Yes.
Because what was magical about WandaVision was us all being like, what the
mystery.
fuck is going on?
Right.
What is this? And it's still a fun show. It's not like you can't go back and watch it. But, like, Miss
Kamala,
Marvel,
you can just spend time with Kamala.
Yeah.
you can just go and hang out.
Yeah. And also there was the thing about WandaVision was the unfortunate thing of the big mystery works up to like a very standard Marvel movie ending.
Yeah. Sure.
Which kind of to me was like, I knew they had to do this, but at the same time it was like they had two endings in that show.
Yeah.
And the first ending was the one that I really enjoyed. And then there was like the big Marvel laser ending.
First ending.
So or not
Agatha all along.
I'm sorry. I guess it would have been the second ending. It's the ending of her at the window when everything starts falling away.
Okay.
Yeah,
That to me was the emotional ending, but then there was the big Marvel ending. But no, Miss Marvel was so good.
A great adaptation of a character from comic books, absolutely capturing that pure essence of what that character represents. Really kind of modern fandom. You know, you guys were talking about the importance of representation and just bringing in an entire new demographic of people into the Marvel universe. And it's also another great reason why I'm so happy that at some point Marvel Studios decided to let their universe like go in real time.
Yes.
And the reason that's significant is if you're a comic book reader, that's not what happens in the comics. In the comic books, it has been that the beginning of Marvel started about 13 to 15 years ago from whenever now is.
Right.
Which is so weird to wrap your brain around, to be like, oh, wait, so the first superheroes in this world kind of appeared in like the Bush administration.
Yeah.
It's like, towards the tail end of that. And then it got pretty much right to Obama being president. And that's when all the,
It's
comics
so
in the
wild.
70s were like during the Obama years.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. But to have Marvel Studios go, we're going to embrace the fact that our actors age in real time. And let years, and specifically set things in real years. Like the first Avengers movie was 2012.
Yeah.
Right? We saw that in Avengers Endgame when they time traveled. They tell us what year those things happen.
Yeah.
That means that you can introduce characters to the younger generation. That's the payoff. Characters like Peter Parker or Kamala Khan, who grew up with Iron Man and them being present.
Yes.
Just like the comics.
Yes.
And that's one of the best things about, it's a bummer because the DC Comics universe is that and even more.
Yeah.
They have more legacy characters. They have a history that is more about other characters coming in and taking the mantle.
Yeah.
And nobody at Warner Brothers, I think, has ever realized that or understood it. They put out superhero movies, and it's like, 7 years later, here's Aquaman 2. Has any time progressed? Probably not. I don't know.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with a lot of the fractious nature of what's been going on at DC.
Just quoting
in the
at
the background.
Yeah,
like the messiness of but also, you're a big DC guy. We all read a lot of DC stuff growing up. DC has always been confused that way, at least in my lifetime. Every 5 years, DC is like, we better reboot because we don't know where this is going. And it's like, dude, just sit in it for a minute. Sit in it for a minute.
When they let things kind of just happen, you get new characters like Kyle Rayner becoming Green Lantern.
I love Kyle.
Becoming Flash, or even Dick Grayson becoming Nightwing, and then Batman for a bit, and then back to Nightwing. All these things that Marvel has really embraced with all of their next tier characters. So
it's been interesting. And the other thing that I really love is that Marvel has decided that Disney Plus is one big genre experiment. Everything is a different genre, and they're really trying to play a lot with that. And you probably have an award to give to that, don't you?
Me?
Yeah,
absolutely. My award for most mean, green, and straight poured into these jeans. Jennifer Walters in She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. She-Hulk. Everything I just said is also true for She-Hulk. She-Hulk is a character who is a legacy character. But Jennifer Walters, in my heart, is as important to Marvel as Bruce Banner is.
Yes.
I love this character. This show is another perfect adaptation of a character, in my opinion. I think it nails the tone of what Jennifer Walters brings to her surrounding world, especially because people who watch this show who don't know anything about comic books did not expect this show.
No.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, good. I remember talking to people and they're like, dude, she's a lawyer? And I was like, you dumb dummy.
She's mostly a lawyer.
Right.
And then sometimes is She-Hulk, but always a lawyer.
What a great pitch. What a great premise. And I have to shout out Tatiana Maslany as perfect casting.
In everything.
In everything.
But I'm so happy she said yes to doing this show. This character.
So,
man, I love this show.
This is one of those things also that Marvel could not have done until after the 10th anniversary, until after they had gotten so huge, until the entire world knew about Marvel Comics and these characters. Because when you think about like the Dan Slott run or the Peter David run of She-Hulk, it's all about like, it's one continuous scene of asking all of the meta questions that fans have, but putting them through like, okay, but what are the legal ramifications of like, you're immortal? What does it mean to be married to like all of these different people? Or like, what does it mean? Like you have diplomatic immunity, but you're a shapeshifter? What do we do about that? You can be
characters who transform like Hulk. What do you do with your clothes? And She-Hulk has to answer it. Well, here's how she has to deal with this problem.
And it's just so good. But then on top of it, it's not about. I got to interview Dan Slott a couple months back. I was on the Marvel podcast on Pull List, where we were talking to him because the new Spider-Verse thing was coming out, and talking to him about doing all this meta stuff. And I was like, do you think about these questions that you want answers to and then build things around? He's like, absolutely not. He's like, I build the characters and where they're going and what they want. And then if a funny thing occurs to me, that becomes the legal case. And I think that She-Hulk did a really good job of that as well.
Yes.
The cases were there to mirror things that were going on in Jen's life and highlight things that were going on in Jen's life. They weren't there to be gags about the Marvel universe.
Even the Daredevil episode, which is everyone's favorite episode.
So good.
Written by Cody Ziegler. It's an episode. Here's my hot take. You ready for this?
Yeah.
That Daredevil episode of She-Hulk, you saw it?
Yes.
Is a better adaptation of Matt Murdock
Yep.
Yeah.
than the entire Netflix show.
I think that's a very reasonable take.
Now, I'm not saying the Netflix show isn't great. It is great.
It's amazing.
But it's that one great flavor of Matt Murdock. Mm-hmm. But if you read Daredevil comic books, he's many different things. He contains multitudes.
He is, I mean, when I think about Matt Murdock,
One of my favorite characters.
for me, he's very full of himself.
Yeah.
He's very full of
I
himself.
like where this is going.
He's
Okay.
he's full of himself. He knows how good he is at everything, and he is
He's a good lover.
he's great in bed, great in bed.
So many partners.
Because he's responsive.
ridiculous.
He's like, who do you think
He's the slutty
is the
character in comics.
Well,
Straight up.
I was gonna ask,
Yeah.
who's the bigger slice of man meat?
Yeah.
Is it Matt Murdock or Dick Grayson?
I say Matt Murdock.
I say it's Matt Murdock because it's Dick Grayson in fan fiction. Like, it's not that he isn't
Yeah,
in the.
yeah.
It's not that he isn't in
well,
the comics, but
yeah.
it's more by the fans.
Dick Grayson he's a part of at least 2 OTPs. Am I using that correctly?
Yes.
Whereas Matt Murdock, I don't know, like people, what are they going to say? Elektra? He's had so many. Do you see what I'm saying?
Can I
Yeah,
tell you?
yeah.
People are not trying to romantically kind of like.
Hey, do you know what I say now? Do you know what I say now?
What? Shit.
Jennifer fucking Walters is what I say now. That's what I say
But
now.
It's not a ship. You're right. So that's my take. I think that the show She-Hulk, with a lot of the characters that it was able to utilize, and some of those new characters are the best new characters.
Oh my God.
Madison
is amazing.
Yeah.
Madison
Patty Guggenheim
and
is so
whoever came up with the idea of Madison and Wong,
It's amazing.
bless you. Bless you. Whatever writer came up with that in the room.
I love that show. I loved every minute of that show. I can't wait to see Tatiana Maslany come back as She-Hulk in a more straightforward way in like the big Avengers movies, which you know is going to happen. But I hope she gets, if they can work out that deal with Universal, her own movie.
Yes.
Or a season 2 of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, or just continuing to do She-Hulk as the main character stories where she's able to break the fourth wall.
Well,
the Kevin thing at the end?
Oh my God. It was so good. It was so good. And I also just love, Marvel has been split. The tone of Marvel has been equally split between
Very fractious, you're right.
it's fractious, it's very Gunnian. But it's always been the big earnest adventure and the shawarma moment since the beginning.
You're right.
And
It is.
and what I love
Yeah, you're right.
is like you get to have characters who get to have more of those like shawarma moments. Like Wong doesn't get to do that in Doctor Strange. He gets to play a little bit of like the put upon principal who's like,
but
Steven, don't cast that spell. I gotta go save the world.
He's the guy that has to deliver things like Mount Wendigore. And you're like, awesome. Like, he's that guy.
Yeah, exactly. But then he gets to come in and be like, hey, I'm going to hire you because you're a good lawyer. There's some weird stuff going on. This guy's not a real magician and it pisses me off. I think that's so funny. And the fact that you get to have these characters and also get to have like B and C characters show up that I really love. Like the fact that Hedgehog's there and not the one that I expected.
Hedgehog, you mean Porcupine?
Or Porcupine is there and not the one that I expected.
Sassarin,
'cause-
Aguila,
Manbull. Oh my God. Manbull.
Wrecker, the Wrecking Crew.
It's so
love
good.
those characters.
And like when they showed the preview for that episode and they showed Porcupine, I was like, they better not make fun of my sweet boy. They better not make fun of Jessica Drew's sweet, sweet baby daddy.
He's just a little stinky.
But it was the different Porcupine. They did Porcupine 1 and not Porcupine 2. And I was like, great.
In 10 years from now, they'll do Porcupine 2.
Bring on. Listen, She-Hulk, here's what I want. They're doing a good job of like also kind of changing things a little bit in all these shows, right? I like Miss Marvel's origin much better, I think, in the TV show than I even do in the comics.
Yeah.
Because it's not tied up in like, alien gas that Nano turned us into Inhumans.
It's tied up in some stuff at the end here.
But not the way it is in the comics.
And
It's
terrigenous.
it's tied up more in her family and in what's going on with her and like all of this stuff. And so like a change that I would like to see, something that I've always loved in the comics that we haven't gotten yet. You know when Jessica Drew and Carol Danvers go to lunch?
Yeah.
I want to be able to see Jennifer Walters and Jessica Drew and who we don't have yet, but come on.
Jessica
Jones, bring her back.
Jessica Jones
I know.
around.
I think she'll come back. I think she'll come back.
All of
I love her
them.
so much.
All of them going out and hanging out and doing those scenes from the Marvel comics would make me so happy.
I would enjoy Marvel
She-Hulk.
Ladies Who Lunch.
Yeah, you could do that in She-Hulk. Yeah.
She-Hulk was a huge surprise to me because when the trailer dropped, I was like, shit. The trailer, I didn't like the trailer one bit. The trailer absolutely didn't do it for me.
The trailer for it did a little bit of like, hey, let's show her big green ass first. Let's slowly zoom up her bod first.
It was very interesting, and like the show didn't feel like I expected it to. But from the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, this is a male gaze, tall woman that they didn't like show to be particularly like muscular in the trailer. And literally, like the first shot we saw of her was panning up her leg over her ass, and I was just like, God
and there was
damn
also
it.
a conversation of like Marvel should have hired like a tall, athletic actor to that was as opposed to the very petite Tatiana Maslany CG.
And I feel that every time too, because the same thing came out. Like I sort of felt the same way when Gal Gadot was Wonder Woman. I was like Wonder Woman should be like a little more massive,
right?
And then just like Tatiana Maslany, Gal Gadot turned out to be pretty perfect for the role.
Gal Gadot was it was ripped,
but the strength and all that stuff.
But the trailer, I was just like, and like the humor didn't land for me in the trailer. So I was so surprised by how good the humor was in the show.
Yeah.
Because I felt like some of the humor in the trailer, it was giving Sex in the City.
Yes.
And it felt like, I was just like, who is this pandering to in the weirdest way?
Yeah.
And like, I love a big hot green lady. Like, don't get me wrong. I want to be stepped on by a big hot green lady.
Where do you think that picture was first taken? Like a She-Hulk cosplayer, and someone was like, "Step on me."
That was more recent. That was definitely more recent.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that was definitely more recent.
Yeah, I agree.
2016, 2017.
Yeah. That 2020 run did something.
Okay.
But then what won you over? Was there a specific, or you just started watching the show?
The actual show was just a completely different vibe for me than the trailer.
Yeah. And I remember we were
episode 1. You're immediately like, oh, okay,
yes.
I understand. I think that their choice of scenes didn't sell me particularly well.
Trailer.
Yeah, just for
the trailer wasn't. And that's the thing is the trailer was for a different and more general audience. And then I remember watching it and being like, okay, but the whole thing about Jennifer is her whole life is dealing with the male gaze and what that means for her. And so like that didn't make it
level.
and that didn't make it into the trailer, but I'm like, hopefully that's going to make it into the show, and they're just giving us the, hey, watch the hot green lady, so everybody tunes in. Which thank God that's how it turned out, and thank God Pug is there.
One to rock and one to stock.
Folks,
I know what your next one is because you looked it up. I saw it.
I looked it up. This is, God, the award is the most heart-wrenchingly funny and strange and most me thing maybe I've seen in years. And I'm giving it to Severance.
There you go.
Severance. Look, should anybody have an Apple TV Plus subscription? I don't know. There's usually only one show one show at a time I want on there.
But that's the problem, is they do them one at a time.
They do them one at a time.
Smart.
But this show is fucking unbelievable.
Very good show.
If you're not aware of what the show is about, the deal is
it's happening right there. There it is. It's happening right there.
The idea is you go to work, and when you go to work, they have basically, you agree that they separate your brain into work brain and personal life brain, and neither one remembers the other. So when you go to work, you become work you. And
we call it an innie.
Yeah, and regular you walks into the building at 9 a.m.
kind of blacks
and then blinks and it's 5 p.m. and they're going home.
Yep. And they call that an outie.
Yeah. So the deal is Adam Scott works at this office. He's one of these people.
He doesn't know what the job is. His Audi doesn't know what the job is.
No, they don't tell you anything. It's the whole idea of this corporation. It's for highly sensitive jobs, is what they say.
Yes.
But the idea is, I love this because it deals with the themes of. This is what corporations want. They want you to be work you.
Yeah, that's true.
They want you to be work you, and they don't want you to bring your personal life to work, and you don't want to bring your work life home. And so on a surface,
that's so unhealthy if you think about it.
yeah, but on a surface level, this is a solution to that. But as the show goes on, you start realizing
It's not good.
basically the inciting incident of the show you're seeing right here is this is one of his friends from work, but he doesn't know that.
And the
friend
remembers.
Yeah.
And he's telling him, hey,
the friend doesn't work there anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are these people really doing? What's really happening? What are we really working on? Because when you go to work and you're work you doesn't know anything but the office. And so work you is just like, this is just my life. This is where I work and this is what we do and this is what it is. But things start getting more and more sinister. And one of the things that I really love about this is it plays with horror and suspense genres a lot, because if you think about it, you've got your character, Adam Scott's character, Mark. When Mark is outside of work, he is trying to figure out what's going on. He gets more and more of an idea that there's something sinister going on, but Work Mark doesn't know that. And so Work Mark, it's that thing of like, when you think about the part in the horror movie where the woman is walking around in her